And welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. And if you are here for the hot takes. I wrote down a bunch of hot takes for you. I have things that have happened over the last couple of days. I have hot takes on them. I have things that I believe, and I think it's time that you hear them. How do you feel about that?
That's good. And I have one quick quiz for you that I've had for like 3 weeks, and I keep forgetting it. So I'm ready.
Do you want to ask it now, and then I'll play the intro, and it'll be like a clock?
No, because I need some time to ask it.
Yeah. All I wanna do is feel awesome. All I wanna do is feel awesome. All I wanna do is feel awesome.
All right,
How?
so here, let me go.
Oh, go ahead.
Mine's just a trivia. Yours are like hot takes.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So I read something, I clickbaited something. It wasn't Rolling Stone, but it was something that ranked the best 25 songs of all time.
Ooh, okay.
So you can imagine there. I think maybe Aretha, maybe Respect was number one,
Okay.
but it had some Dylan.
You said it wasn't Rolling Stone?
It was not Rolling Stone.
Okay.
But it was.
Because you were distraught after we did the Rolling Stone one. Okay.
Yes, it was a different. I don't think it was Ranker, right? But
Okay.
It was something, but it was a legit list.
Okay.
So in the top 25, there was one. Most of them are old, Led Zeppelin,
Okay.
Beatles, and Stones, and Dylan, stuff like that. In the top 25, there was one that would be considered like the rap hip hop genre. It came in at number 23.
Okay.
So it's obviously, according to this, it's the greatest rap hip hop song of all time.
Okay.
I give it to you. What would be your? Give me your. Like,
So
Mount Rushmore.
Rolling Stone, I think, had Big Pimpin' in the top 10.
No.
If you remember that.
No, it had Big Pimpin' at 467 because it had it ahead of Welcome to the Jungle. I still have it on
You
my
still have
phone
it on your
here
thing?
'cause I was so mad. I Love Rock and Roll was behind, and Welcome to the Jungle were behind Big Pimpin'.
The other one that I remember you were really upset with is they had Missy Elliott Work It was like in the top 10. And you basically acted like you had never heard the song before. You and I have talked about this before.
I had after you played it for me.
Yeah, everyone's heard Work It
But
by Missy
I was
Elliott.
just like, what?
They just don't know they've heard it.
Okay.
I think you and I talked about this before. You think Lose Yourself is the greatest rap song of all time. I think it's up there. I don't know if it's the best. So am I guessing what I think they
talk it through, because you probably, if you gave me a Mount Rushmore of your best, I wonder if you would get it.
If I would get it. I mean, you start going through some stuff and everyone's going to be different. Some of the College Dropout stuff for Kanye West, you have the Take Care stuff for Drake, Kendrick Lamar's most recent stuff. I don't know what they would. I mean, was Kendrick Lamar the one they chose? Okay.
It was older than that.
It was older than that. So are we going back to like the 90s? Are we going to like before even hip hop
like
necessarily?
It wasn't like Grandmaster Flash, but it was,
Okay.
And it wasn't Run DMC.
Okay.
But it was like.
So it's the Biggie Tupac area.
It was
okay.
that. And that, in my world, that was the heyday. But I'm 51 to the young people.
I think it's certainly the heyday of rap, because I would argue anything, once you get into like late 90s, early 2000s, you're kind of crossing over into hip hop more so than just like lyrical rap.
Okay.
Hit me with it.
Juicy.
By Biggie. Now, here's what's funny though. I played this for you just a couple months ago. Do you remember this?
I didn't know what you told me, Juicy, and I was like, I've never heard it. And you're like, yes, you've heard it. And then you played it, and then I was like, oh, I know that song.
The fascinating thing about that is Juicy was maybe the one song Biggie did that wasn't Biggie. Like, it was much more pop. It was much more radio play. It was much more.
Isn't that why? Didn't you tell him to make a song?
Yes. It's probably, like, this sounds stupid to say, it's probably the least Biggie song Biggie ever did.
When I read it, that's why it resonated with me. And I started, those lists started at 25, 24, 23. I was like, oh, Juicy. So then it also kind of showed me, like, this is going to be a list. It's not just Chuck Berry and the Beatles and Elvis. And then as it got higher, it just ended up being like Chuck Berry and Elvis and the Beatles.
And that's what it ended up being.
But, so Juicy, according to this list, Juicy is the best.
I wonder, like 20 years from now, I'm really curious what those lists will look like, because you'll have a new generation making them.
Because Drake and Kendrick Lamar
There are people on those, like when they make those lists today, even like the Rolling Stone, when they make those lists, they completely it's not that they ignore an entire generation, but they like almost ignore the fact that like it doesn't matter if people listen to X this many times. Like they almost dismiss that.
It needs to age so they can tell how much.
But does it though?
It shouldn't.
Okay.
In the real world, you should be able to watch.
It'd be like watching LeBron James and not saying he's not one of the 5 best basketball players because it needs time to age. And it's like, no, I know what I'm looking at. It's the same thing with music. Like there are musicians and songs that are out in the last 10, 15, 20 years. You don't need 50 years to decide. Like what you're listening to. And
the music movie industry, the art industry needs time. They won't take a movie and say this is one of the best movies ever.
Yeah.
It's been out for a month.
Music's weird though because it's such a like sports, I feel like you can watch a new athlete and you can appreciate it much easier than listening to a new song if you're like old and kind of, I don't want to say stuck in your ways, but if you're the dude that's putting in the same CD in your car every time, it's very difficult for you to listen to somebody and be like, this isn't bad, like this is up there.
No, I get it.
I don't know. You know who always gets, we've talked about this before, but female singers, when you go through like the Rolling Stone and stuff like that, it is amazing how like they're almost not, I don't want to say like they're docked, but it is like today's singer, they act like Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and Beyonce don't exist. It's really weird.
You know, I was just
It's really, really bizarre. Do you remember on the list you just read, like where the female singers were?
But they're I mean,
Aretha was out there.
There just weren't.
Yeah. Oh, you're saying back in the day, like there just weren't. Okay.
No, I mean, but like I'm on this list, there weren't because you had the Pat Benatar's of the world, the Olivia Newton-Johns of the world, that Joan Jett might have been
on the
even
list.
Though she didn't write out rock and roll, but still be that as a hit. I was just thinking about this, and now we'll get to your hot take.
You're fine.
If you had to make a Mount Rushmore of female singers,
okay,
I think it's understood. It's just way harder than I thought because I thought like, oh, this person will be on, this person will be on. Then you start thinking, I think Aretha Franklin kind of has to be there because she is like, but when you start going through all the other ones and I just mentioned Olivia Newton-John and Pat Benatar, even though I don't think they would make it, but you get to the Whitney Houstons, you get to obviously Janet Jackson would be the argument, but
right. Keep talking. I'm listening to you.
Then you get to the Britney Spears. What's wrong? Is my microphone?
Yeah, just keep talking. You get to the Britney Spears.
Pink and I mean Christina Aguilera would be in the discussion, but then you get to like Gaga and you get to Taylor Swift and you get to. Did I mess it up yet?
No, you didn't mess it up.
So it is harder. It is really hard to come up with a. I'm looking at you because you're messing with my microphone.
I'm trying to fix it.
Hear me, they'll be devastated.
Trust me, if your mic's not picking you up, mine is. I can promise. I can promise you that.
So you are so mean.
I'm really, really not. So no, that was interesting. I mean, Juicy doesn't surprise me. Let's put it that way.
So if you had like, I don't know. So we'll work this backwards since I was just talking about female. You can't have one without Whitney Houston.
I would.
Can you have one without Madonna? Can you have one without Taylor Swift now? Can you have one without Gaga? Can you like just Pink and like Alanis Morissette probably doesn't get as much. She probably wouldn't be there, but she's in the top 10. Like it's hard. It's really hard.
I think one of the challenges with those lists always is like vocalist versus song, right?
That's fair.
Because I think there are people where clearly they're one of the best vocalists ever, but they may not have a song that resonates. They may not have something that cracks the top 50, the top 100.
And
right?
Madonna was so much about image and what she was and how she represented it.
Yeah.
As opposed to.
It's just funny to me. Like those lists are. It's almost like that female pop didn't exist after the year 1995. It's really weird.
No,
it's bizarre when they make those lists how they're.
Yes.
But you'll have like 20 Beatles songs like back to back to it's. I don't know. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I got hot takes. What do you want? Which one do you want?
Bring it.
Which one do you want? Do you want a
thing one and thing two? Let's go.
Hot take one. Here's hot take one for anyone who didn't see. the Trump town hall, I think it completely backfired on CNN. Did you see what Cooper Anderson came out and said afterwards? Sorry, Anderson Cooper. What did I switch it? Did you see what he said? I was. Did you?
Cooper Anderson? Present.
Did you see what he said? Basically, he said the reason CNN did it is because they felt like before 2016, that people didn't feel like he could actually win. And so CNN, Anderson's whole thing was kind of like, we are doing this to show you like it could happen again. Like we are here and it could happen again. Like it's this existential threat to that, like it could happen. And I think it did the complete opposite. I'm not saying that Trump changed Democrats' minds, but I don't think it made anybody think any worse of him. I don't think it really changed perception other than the fact that Trump got onto CNN.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like watching a quarterback start his 131st game. You're not going to change. He's going to have a good game or a bad game, but he is who he is.
Sure, yeah.
And you're not going to change and be like, oh my God, he's a Hall of Famer because he threw 3 touchdowns in the third quarter.
Well, here's the other thing: like anybody who thinks you're going to make Trump look bad, it's gone over your head. The guy 24, 48 hours before, he's basically convicted. Right. And it's just, so the idea that you're ever going to make Trump look like it's not, I don't know. I don't think you can. It's like a punching bag. Like it's going to come back. So I also think this, I thought people who kind of know how the industry works and they're really into it, I felt like it was very much a cover for the fact that if you're CNN, the ratings had to be ridiculously good. And it's a cover for the opportunity to pick up those ratings. So you can sit here and try to justify it and say, we're trying to warn the electorate. We're trying to do. The reality of it is CNN knew what the numbers would be by having Trump on their news channel. And so they did a town hall. And listen, I'm not saying they shouldn't have done it. I'm happy they did it. I'm just saying simply like, don't try to sell it off as something more so than just the fact that you picked up viewers that night.
I just typed CNN town hall draws 3.3 million viewers. That was according to Axios. Forbes says 3.1.
Yeah.
CNN, it's 3.3. And how does that compare to typical? I'm guessing CNN doesn't get 3.3 million viewers at a prime time slot very much.
I would assume it's lower than that typically. Depending on what they have on, though. I'm sure there's nights where they crush that if they have the right thing on.
4 times the average numbers reached during its demo on a typical 8 p.m. program hosted by Anderson Cooper.
Yeah. So it's just this thing, like, just don't try to tell me that's not what it was about. And that's okay. Like, throw every person up there. Have town halls every night. Like, I do not care. But then don't try to sell it as if you're trying to warn the electorate. I think so. We're almost Emmy nominated. Almost. Soon to be, actually, is where we're at now.
I think we would go.
So I think this absolutely backfired on CNN. And I think they're trying, and I actually think what they did the day after was them trying to like backtrack it a little bit.
Well, I mean, maybe, but when you get to your main point is they were going for ratings.
And they got them.
Cover it, and they got them. So it didn't really backfire.
But I
trying to sound like they weren't going for ratings.
But those that you said 3.1, 3.3.
3.1 or 3.3.
Here's what's funny. Most of the people that weren't watching CNN will never go back. They were only there for one reason.
Sure.
And they upset a lot of their base, which is a whole other conversation to be had. But they upset a lot of their base. And so then the next day they come on and they make Anderson Cooper read this thing about, I shouldn't say make him read it. I'm sure he wrote it. I'm sure he wanted to say it. But they basically have him parade out there in front of the camera and basically be like, we did this for you. Like, we're trying to protect you. Like, this is a possibility in 2024 and no one thought it was in 2016. And I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, you got everything you wanted. Like, don't tell us. So the weird part is they did it for the ratings. Then the next day they realized the backlash. And so now they're trying to sell. I think it completely backfired on them.
I don't understand the whole aspect of, like, if you're CNN, if you're a staunch liberal and like CNN can't have a Republican candidate. I mean, whether it's Trump or whomever. And obviously the Democrats hate Trump more than they've hated any other president.
Yeah.
But whether he gets the nomination or not, I think we're kind of the belief that he will.
Yeah.
He's certainly a major player, whether he gets it or not.
Sure.
And for a major news network like they are to have the guy on, and like it's informative.
Yeah.
Whether it's
one of the things that Anderson Cooper said in the speech that I did agree with is he said, like, we can't just continue to put people on here that you'll agree with. He actually said that in his thing. So, like, this is not a condemning of him. He just happened to get caught in the middle of this thing where I'm kind of listening to him and I'm like you guys got caught with your pants down a little bit.
It's like if you're a Penn State fan and they're playing Ohio State, like watching a little bit of the Ohio State pregame show just educates you.
Sure.
It doesn't mean you're like, God forbid we talk about the Ohio State quarterback. Well, he's a player, so let's know what he does. Like, give me his background. What year? Because a lot of times we only focus on our own team.
Yeah.
So give me that. Oh, he sprained an ankle 2 weeks ago. That's interesting. It's hurt his mobility. Hey, here we go.
Yeah.
It's just like more information is never bad.
I don't disagree with that. Are you ready? Here's another one. You ready for another one? Hot take two. I think Doc Rivers, the head coach for the Philadelphia 76ers, I think Doc Rivers could be
Hold on.
Could be
the views. I apologize to the Rivers family before anything Jeff is about to say.
No,
because it's not going to be kind.
I think Doc Rivers could be the first NBA coach ever to win a championship and be fired in the same year. I think Philadelphia could win the title this year, and I still think they might get rid of Doc Rivers at the end of the season.
No.
I really do. I really do.
What? Okay. I
honestly, I truly believe that.
What did Doc Rivers do last night that was so bad?
What did Doc Rivers do? What has he done his entire career that's been good?
He won a title, didn't he?
Doc Rivers with the Celtics. Yes.
Okay. What's the title? It counts.
Have you? So they actually released some of his playoff numbers, and they are wild. Here's the thing about Doc Rivers, okay?
He seems like a wonderfully nice guy.
I'm sure Doc Rivers is an incredible human being.
Okay.
I'm just not sure. Here's what I'm saying. If you go to like the career wins list, Doc Rivers top 10. It's absurd who's next to Doc Rivers. Like it's like Red Auerbach, Greg Popovich, Doc Rivers. It's insane. But if you look at who he's gotten to coach, I mean, he coached loaded Celtics teams, loaded Clippers teams. Now he's coaching loaded Sixers teams. Like, he continues to get jobs that are just loaded. So if you go through like the all-time numbers, his name's always up there. They showed
he is a X's and OG.
They showed some of his playoff stuff, like his Game 7 numbers, his record with a lead in the playoffs, like that kind of stuff. It is unbelievable how bad they are. Like, I was looking at some of it and I was like, these are fake. Like, there's no, so I actually went to basketballreference.com to verify them. It's incredible. I don't think it's all, you and I have talked about this. The ball's in the middle of the floor. There's really not much. You think you can do a lot as a coach. It's really like a fifth of what you actually think. But the fifth you can do really matters. I don't know how great Doc Rivers is. That's all. I think he's still like in the 1 percentile of the world. Like, if you line the whole world up, is Doc Rivers in the top 1%? Absolutely. Unfortunately for him, he is being compared to the top 1%. And I don't know how great he is.
If Phil Jackson's on one bench and Doc Rivers is on the other,
yeah,
you don't think it's a coin flip?
No, I do not. Now, again, like, sometimes, again, you can only control so much, but this guy has had numerous big time teams. He seems like an unbelievably nice guy.
I think he is.
He seems, which, to be honest, is probably why he's still getting the opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if he was any bit of a jerk, I don't think he would have stayed as long with the Clippers. I don't think he would have gotten this job with the Sixers. I think why it keeps kind of happening for him is because he's such a nice guy. But some of the numbers are absolutely incredible. So Bogue's sharing some of them. He's lost 9 Game 7s, which isn't even close. They're like, nobody's even in the 50th percentile of that. 9 Game 7s. 9.
Okay. Let me play devil's advocate.
Go ahead. He made it to 9 Game 7s.
He's had mediocre teams, and they've battled through the first 6 games to get to Game 7.
The problem is mediocre because they have been loaded. He has had really good teams with really high seeds, and they have continually lost. He has last 7 opportunities to clinch a series in the semifinals. Lost his last 7 opportunities. Not to win, to clinch, meaning his team was ahead,
They had three
and they didn't clinch it. 7 straight. Now, again, some of the numbers are like, sure, there are chances, right? Like some of the numbers cannot necessarily be justified, but some of these numbers are so high, it is a trend. Like it can't be, if he lost 4 game 7s, you would be like, boy, that's some rough luck. 9 is an absurd number. 9's incredible. To lose 7 straight game clinching opportunities in the semifinals is a lot. 3, if it was 3, we would be like, boy, 7. Like, it's just, I don't know. These numbers are pretty wild. I think he could be fired even if they find a way to win. I think if the Sixers win the finals, it's almost like in spite of the fact that Doc Rivers is there. I mean, that's kind of what's happening here.
Remember, Rivers family, when I warned you before this segment started, that Jeff was going to say not nice things about Doc?
Why?
I was not wrong.
But see, I think he's in the top 1 percentile.
Well, I've said this before. Like, there was a stretch, and I don't know if it's changed. Gino Ariema lost 7 straight overtime games.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
And I was like, whoa, so when his team's as good as the other team, he struggles. He's great when his team's way better than the other team, but when it's – and how much more even can you get that we played 40 minutes and it's tied?
Sure.
Now go play overtime. But Randy Johnson lost 7 straight playoff games once. Mm-hmm. Justin Verlander was
That's right.
Verlander was horrible.
We just talked about that last summer. Yeah.
So I do get it. I don't know.
I think we've lost the ability.
This is what I will say.
Can I wrap it real quick? Don't lose your thought.
Go ahead.
I think we've lost the ability to be able to say somebody might not be as good as they could be, given the fact that they're in the 1 percentile of something. I think Doc Rivers is unbelievably good at what he does compared to the world. But now when you put him into this vacuum of the NBA playoffs, I don't know if Doc is your guy. That's what I'm saying. And I don't think that's that mean.
No, and I get it.
Okay.
And in your defense, like, I watch the NBA playoffs. I like the NBA playoffs. I'm pumped for the Lakers Golden State tonight. And I like basketball. I play basketball. I coach basketball. What I watch, when I'm watching tonight and when you're watching tonight, we are watching two different things.
Probably.
Like, there are this many people around who watch basketball the way you do. So when you're like you notice substitutions that other people don't notice, and there's the ice lane, what they're running in the ice lane, where they help from. So your critique is way different than most people. Like, I remember I used to sit in the crowd and I used to watch my brother pitch, and I would be like, "No, you can't throw his cutter over the plate." And
right.
I remember a guy in the World Series hit a solo home run off him.
Yeah.
And we're down the seats, and I was like, I think he just threw a splitter. Why is he throwing it? And they're like, how can you tell? Because we're off, we're down the right field line, and we're just like, I think he just threw him a splitter.
Yeah.
And so to everyone else, there's lots of people that go sit in the crowd and they can't tell the difference. They can tell, that was a curveball because it's big and slow, but the difference between a fastball and a cutter and a 2-seam and a 4-seam and all this stuff. And I was sitting down the right field line, and I could tell because I've watched it so much. So, yes, your critiques of Doc Rivers is different than the guy who's going to be in wobbling, drunk on the bar stool, going, "Oh, he's a bum."
But what's different with this, though, is I can actually put it into really basic numbers that the average fan could have. Because most of the time, I would have to it's almost like a dissertation to explain why I think that. These are really basic numbers that the average fan can understand.
He blew it. They didn't just lose.
They blew them.
Is that even say by the fact he won a championship with the original Big Three in Boston, and the age of basketball was still about grit and grind.
Which, by the way, do you know how, before that, and he didn't have a ton of talent, but it's not like he was super successful in Boston before they made all the moves.
Bill Belichick wasn't super successful.
All right, I have one other one for you. I don't know how much you'll like this one, but I think it's something different that you probably haven't thought of, and the average person hasn't thought of. Do you if I asked you right now, what is the biggest threat to our country, to our world, to society? What would you some people? Some people would say China. Some people would say immigration, right? Some people would say the economy, making sure that we're actually fixing the middle class. There's a lot of things that people view as the threat, right? What do you do you have a thing? Is there something that rings a bell?
Well, that's an interesting question because the immediate one is China, because they're so big.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're. I think the hostility of the divided America between the red and the blue.
That's a good one.
Doesn't create a unified front.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with, because when there are real issues,
right,
whoever the president is, right, and right now it's Biden, so whatever decision Biden makes, the right hates.
Sure.
Whatever decision Trump would have made, or maybe Trump does make again, the left is going to hate,
Sure.
regardless of the reason or the analytics of the decision.
Yeah.
It's just like they're shooting the messenger.
Yeah.
So that is a problem.
I like that one. If we were sitting down and making a list, I would have forgotten that one, but I immediately would have moved it up my list as soon as you said it. That was a good answer. I think our biggest threat by far, given what I like, just me diving into stuff and looking around, and again, I'm one person, it's just an opinion. The AI stuff is incredible. It is what is about to happen and shift if somebody doesn't step in and do something. Artificial intelligence is going to alter everything, and no one is going to be. Remember, okay, so like here's a good example. You remember trying to give your parents a cell phone for the first time? Remember the bewilderment? Remember people like not knowing what to do? Like literally to the point where they would start screaming at you because like they didn't know how to use a cell phone.
My parents just screamed at me all the time.
But I'm being serious. Like, do you remember that? Like there was like a 5-year span where like the fact that cell phones were forced upon people. I mean, there were grown adults that were distraught, like didn't know how to handle it. Artificial intelligence is going to times 10 that transition. I mean, people are not going to know how to handle it, what to do with it. People are going to be out of jobs in some aspects. Now, some people will figure it out and they'll get a job because of it. But it's going to shift everything. It's going to change security. It's going to change the way we think about like what we need. Like when you think about China, it's going to change the way you think of that threat rather than it being like a physical military, like it's going to change that aspect of how you think of them as a threat. AI is like somehow under the rug. And I know people kind of chat GPT and this or that. It is insane what they are doing with some of this stuff. Have you heard of the Automate GPT? Someone created something called Automate GPT. And what it does is it basically feeds onto itself. So you don't even have to ask it the questions. It asks the questions to itself and then acts upon them. So instead of just continually telling it what to do, you just tell it what you want, and it just keeps responding to itself until it figures it out. It is creepy. And you can ask it to do just about anything. So for example, like I could say, I'm trying to, I want to break into Mark Messina's email, and it will sit there and go back and forth until it figures out how to break into your email. Like it will just continually to problem solve. And here's the crazy part. A person needs to sleep. Like a person needs to eat. Like a hacker still has to do bodily functions and survive. A computer does not. So when you ask it to go and do this thing, it doesn't stop. It is just 24 hours around the clock until it figures out how to do it. It is changing everything and no one even knows it yet. I'm not trying to be like doomsday about it, but like something probably needs to be done. Like there needs to be like a halt and stop, some sort of like regulation. And you know me, I'm like team crypto, like team internet, like let's go, move forward. I'm telling you, this stuff is spooky.
I just want to crawl under the desk and hide.
It is crazy, some of the stuff that I've seen like in the last 2 weeks. Really, really wild what people are doing with this stuff. Now, some of it's great. It's really cool. Like what good people are doing with it is absolutely incredible. The problem is not everybody's a good person. And it is only a matter of time before the wrong person figures out how to do something.
To think that 3 minutes ago, I thought our biggest issue was Doc Rivers
and the Philadelphia 76ers. I know.
Now, all of a sudden, I realize that he's just a blip.
Pretty much. Have you seen the AI figures, like what you can do? So they have programs where you can video somebody for 3 minutes.
You know, in my world,
Go
AI
ahead.
is still Allen Iverson.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So
That's why I'm filling you in.
How about him back in the commercial? Did you see
I
Cash
did.
Back?
Yeah.
Cash back.
It was good. It was good.
That is
Um, No, they have this program now where you upload. I could film you for 3 minutes. I give you like a piece of paper. You read from some book like for 3 minutes, right? And then you upload it, and I can and I can do any sort of 3D rendering of you saying whatever I want you to say. Really crazy stuff.
What?
Yes. So like we talked about before, the fake photos of Trump getting arrested.
Right.
Remember we showed those online, and some of them, like, you could tell they were a little off, but if you were just glancing, I mean, they looked pretty good. We're talking about like full-fledged videos of you saying whatever I want you to say. Really crazy stuff. Now,
speaking of arrested, Susan Sarandon got arrested at some protest.
I saw that.
In Albany.
Just because she was protesting?
She was at a protest.
Do you know what the protest was for?
I didn't read that book. I saw Susan Sarandon in '76 and she got arrested, so I clicked on it and then it said she was at a protest.
Yeah. She's a little bit like Madonna for me. Like, if she walked through that door right now, I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure that it was Susan.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think so. Because I told you the same thing about Madonna. If Madonna walked in.
Different. Madonna looks different.
Okay.
Susan Sarandon looks like Susan Sarandon. She's older.
I don't know if I'd recognize her.
Yeah, older Susan Sarandon. You know.
I know the movie. Yes, I know who she is. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if I would recognize her.
I think you would.
Really?
And it would help when I said, "Hey, Susan, what's up?"
You're that sure. So here you go. Those were my 3 hot takes. That's all I got for you.
I was going to tell you something else that you mentioned. Well, I was thinking about the raising because it wasn't that important. And you were talking about good people and bad people and what they're doing with their computers. And I couldn't remember, but I had a meaningless joke that I just kind of wanted to throw out there. And
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else for us today?
How's that? How's that for a brilliant end to the day?
That was good. That's par for the course for us.
Yeah.
It's usually how it ends.
Pretty much. So this weekend I got I did see Guardians of the Galaxy last night.
Did you like it? You made a face. You don't really like it.
I didn't love the first. I know I've seen one, maybe two.
Okay.
I don't love them. I don't.
Really? Interesting.
Do you?
I think I like their give and take, like their
That's the only part that makes the movie.
I like theirs way more than the other Marvel stuff. I enjoyed the other Marvel stuff, but there is kind of like, not that they took themselves too seriously. Part of what made Iron Man work is there was kind of like you were in on the joke with Iron Man, right? Like there were inside jokes, and I don't know. Like, I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy leaned into that more than the other ones.
Yeah, it just seems to me like there's so much fighting. And this is the thing that I said, and I don't mean to spoil anybody, but like they get in these fight scenes in the last 20 minutes. Like the dude literally, like a flaming hot sword, got jammed right through the guy's heart. It went in the back and out the front. It didn't kill him.
Okay.
So why are we punching him in the face? Like, what are we accomplishing? You know, like, they get in these impossible fight scenes, and nobody ever they don't even get hurt.
Right.
So, like, what are we doing? Like, get past it. Get me to something where it matters. And I don't get that. And there's so much.
There is an irony.
Fight scenes. And like,
I'm not saying you're wrong. There is an irony that, like, there's a talking raccoon on the screen, and you're worried about, like, the results of the fighting and whether or not it's realistic. Because here's the part. I agree with you. The fight scenes are way too long. Like, they're redundant. A lot of the Marvel movies, like, it's pointless. But pointless. But I chose to go to a movie that I knew there would be a talking raccoon. So how can I be upset that there's some ridiculous results of a fight scene?
They're also flying around in spaceships, and they're all
that's what I'm saying.
Scooby-Doo talk, Bugs Bunny talk. So my whole life I'm used to creatures that talk. So it's not like, but they just like, I don't know.
I get it.
There was a funniness to the fact that when Wile E. Coyote got blown up by 17 tons of TNT, that he was just charred and his all hair was blown back, and there was funniness to it that he wasn't going to, but you knew he was like a cartoon character.
Right.
Like, I don't understand a 20-minute fight scene where nobody can get hurt, and they're not going to get hurt. They can't die, so whatever.
How do you fix it?
How do you fix it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I thought, I really liked Deadpool, and not just because of the banter, because of the stuff that goes along with it, but it just seemed really, really different. And I know that he could heal himself and all that stuff, and there was that aspect that he couldn't die here, but whatever.
Right.
I don't know. It's just I don't get the craze of Guardians. I really don't. But it was fine. There were some genuinely funny parts.
Yeah.
And the characters are endearing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
I enjoyed the Guardians more than I've enjoyed the more recent Marvel stuff. Guardians has been a little bit of a saving grace for me in the Marvel world as far as like still being interested in it.
I guess. And I have this is what sucks about parenthood. They never tell you all this emotional stuff about parenthood. So I have one daughter that's home from college, another daughter that's not home yet. But then the other daughter, my daughter that's home, has to go back. She starts her job.
Okay.
So she's leaving Saturday night, and the other kid comes home Monday.
Okay.
So it's like it isn't even ships passing in the night. They just missed each other by 36 hours. So it will be who knows when before we get all the kids in the same room again.
Yeah.
And it's Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we had spring break, and now so I don't know how long it'll be, but it's just I don't know. It's as your kids get older. What sucks is that you get older, but what also sucks is that just the ability to have around the simple pleasure of having them all sit around the dinner table.
Yeah.
And we miss it by just like logistics.
Sure.
So that's.
I actually thought of you guys last night before. I thought of you guys very briefly because I had never seen Modern Family before. Have you seen Modern? I had never seen it before. So a couple months ago, Hannah and I started kind of going through them, and I've enjoyed it immensely, but it's kind of like a filler. Like when we don't know what else to watch, we throw on a Modern Family. Anyway, we were sitting there and we were talking about different dynamics, and they have the eldest daughter, middle daughter, youngest son. And as we were talking about it, I obviously thought of you guys because you have the eldest daughter, middle daughter, youngest son. So I actually thought about your guys' and your dynamics a little bit the other night because I was watching Modern Family, and I thought about. Now I'm sure their dynamics they probably don't align, but that girl boy. I was kind of like trying to figure out my life who has the girl boy, and that was
one of the funny things of Modern Family is Julie Bone, who is the hot blonde that's married to the realtor guy.
Okay.
Phil.
Mm-hmm.
She's married. I can't think of her name.
Claire Dunphy.
Claire. Yes. She is from Baltimore.
Okay.
And she's got to be a little older than me, but not very much. I would say she's early 50s.
Okay.
And they say, at least legend has it, that she was back in the day when she was growing up, she was a waitress / bartender in this bar called the Mount Washington Tavern.
Okay.
And I was in the Mount Washington Tavern. It wasn't a regular place because it was a little out, but it was. So there is a chance that I was in there while she was either waiting tables or bartending or whatever, having no idea that she was going to go on and be what she became. Yeah. Because she was on.
Or vice versa.
Yes.
Her having no idea what you would.
Point. I never thought of it that way, but I'm not going to argue.
You're welcome. No, I've enjoyed the show immensely, though. I've really, really enjoyed it. We're on season. Yeah, we just started. We just started season 6, but we've been doing this basically since we moved into the new house. So we're like a year into this project, and we just started season 6. So
it's the hard part for me is Jay, and what's Jay's wife's name? The Latina.
I can't think of her name.
Her real name's Sophia.
Vargas.
Yes. But like in real life, it was what I really struggled with Friends. There's no way that Ross is landing Jennifer Aniston in real life. It just doesn't happen. And Jay Pritchett is not. It's just not happening.
But he's rich.
Is he rich?
You don't think he's rich?
I mean, I don't know. I guess, but.
Well, if we really want to get into the dynamics of it, like she does have a kid.
Okay.
She is, for better and for worse, a handful, like emotionally and like conversationally. Do you disagree with that? I mean, that's part of her. That's part of her character in the show. So I'm
Would
just
you say your girlfriend's a handful?
here's what I'm saying.
How many guys out there are saying that they're significant others?
What
How many
you're
women? Everyone's saying they're significant others. A handful.
what you're saying is you're only looking at it from the physical aspect. Like that is 100% of your grading scale.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just simply saying like there's a lot more within the show.
And
like I'm not trying
to
break down Modern Family like it's The Sopranos, but I'm just saying like within the show there's a lot more going on with her than just the fact that she's a smoking, good-looking lady.
But like, I guess. I mean, but you notice where he must be rich. Because
he's rich.
Because why would she be with him if he wasn't rich? So
I don't know. You just think it's that.
He's got to be 30 years older.
Probably. I mean, I don't know the exact ages, but I don't understand though. Like,
If
what is it?
If it was real life and you went out to dinner, if you walk into the old corner and they're sitting there, you think it's his daughter. You would never look at those two and say, "Oh, they're obviously a couple."
Well, no. But that's part of like the whole Modern Family shtick, right? Is like it's basically these families that like this is in today's world. These are kind of the families that are being made now.
I guess I don't know. It's just hard.
Is it hard or is it jealous? Because I can't.
I think to be honest, it's one of the gripes of theater and screen and television and things like that. That so many of the female characters, you have to be a 9.
Sure.
Whereas on the guy side, you can be a 4.
You can be Ed O'Neill. My dream is that Ed O'Neill sees that and laughs. That is my dream scenario.
I mean, and that's another. In too many of us, he's still Al Bundy, and he will always be Al Bundy.
So the first time we put on the show, I'm dying laughing at Ed O'Neill. And really, if you're probably a younger girl like Hannah, I would imagine Ed O'Neill's humor is probably not the funniest thing to you on that show.
Right.
And so I'm dying laughing. And she's like, why? And I said, you have to understand, like when I was 5, I remember not being able to sleep. And I would go out to the living room and my dad and I would watch Love and Marriage. It would be like 11:30 at night. I couldn't sleep. And we would sit there in the dark and watch Love and Marriage until I fell asleep. And like my mom would get upset with him because I was watching Love and Marriage. But like there is Al Bundy for me is like super nostalgic. It's one of the early television memories I have. I had no idea what was actually happening on the show. I just knew who Al Bundy was and that he was a shoe. He worked at a shoe store and that his wife was, always bugging him. Now, I didn't read all the tea leaves, right? Like, I didn't understand the more highbrow humor. I don't know if you can say highbrow in Love and Marriage, but...
and the show wasn't called Love and Marriage. It was called
Married with Children.
Married with Children.
The opening credits. That's what it was.
That the Fox was struggling out of the gate. Because I remember when Fox, people my age remember when Fox showed up. When I was a kid, it was just CBS, NBC, and ABC. Okay. And The Simpsons and Married with Children, they said early on really saved the network.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of stuff that they were just trying to figure out and it wasn't working. And then not that far into it, they bought into the NFL.
Yeah.
And then people were like, wait a minute, where did they end it? Obviously, was a boom from there.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
So when we turned on Modern Family and there was Al Bundy, I was there.
Modern Family. Someone who has not had a lot of luck with health issues is Christina Applegate.
What happened?
I don't. She's been.
I've seen nothing.
Oh, like her whole life. If you Google it, is she like wheelchair bound now?
Oh, I had no idea.
And she is about she's 50-ish. But
MS according to this.
And she had something before. I think she's a cancer survivor. Didn't she have breast cancer in her 30s?
She says she may have to give up acting because of MS, is what this says. She will not be returning to TV, it was announced 3 days ago.
And I think she's a cancer survivor too. She has had an unbelievably unfair bout of health issues. For someone who didn't say how old she is, 51, 52.
Not what I have up right here.
Okay.
I can find out.
But anyway, she was great.
51.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah. Anything else before we go to that?
Oh yeah. I just throw this out as we're speaking of Hollywood and health. And did you see the Jamie Foxx?
So I saw a couple of things come up on my feed, but I didn't click on
He's in the
anything.
hospital.
Is he's still in the hospital?
I think he's been in like 3 weeks.
Okay.
And it's very tight-lipped. But his daughter, him and his daughter did a show, like a reality call-in show, something. And she is not filming it. Like they were ready to film, and she's hanging out like bedside in the hospital. So you would think if it was something that they were like, oh, he needs antibiotics and he'll be fine, or he needs this and he'll be fine, or even if it was just like a pacemaker, just something. Since she turned, now obviously they have money, and she's been successful, let alone how successful he's been.
Yeah.
But you would think if the prognosis was, if there was no doubt with the prognosis, that she would go back and film and then come visit him at the hospital at night.
Okay.
But she's off. She's taking the season off, and they're finding 2 new hosts to do whatever show it is.
Okay.
So I don't know if that, and he's like 56-ish, I think I read.
Okay.
So he's not that old either.
According to this, they still haven't announced what it is as. Apparently his daughter on April 12th put out an Instagram post that said he had a medical complication, and thanks to quick action and great care, he was being guided toward recovery. Since then, this past week, she deleted the post. So apparently he is not out of the woods.
That's what they said. And it would, again, in the reading the tea leaves, which is a great line, and I'm glad you used it so I can steal it. If it was, because they're in the same city. I think they're all in Atlanta. I think he's in Atlanta Hospital, and that's where she was filming.
Okay.
So you would go to your day job and then go, but apparently she's like bedside. So, anyway,
Interesting.
I don't know. That's not.
I've said
That's a little
before.
scary too. She's not that old.
I've before. If you're just talking about most talented people, like if you are, Jamie Foxx may be number one. If you're talking about like complete package, total capabilities, what they're capable of doing and pulling off at a high level, there's not much he can't do.
No. You know who else is up there?
Who's that? Timberlake's close. Timberlake doesn't have the stand-up stuff.
No, but I gotta believe he could figure it out.
You think so? Stand-up's different. See, that's the weird thing about stand-up is I think it's one of the hardest. It's the most vulnerable. Like you can't just.
No. I get what you're saying. But he can sing, he can dance, he can act. He's a great golfer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Timberlake's a talented guy, but I do get your point.
Yeah, interesting. Anything else?
Top
of your head?
That's about backyard brawl.
Backyard brawl.
Baseball this weekend.
You're going, right?
I'm going.
Okay.
It's one of the fun. I remember when they organized it. And I think it was my former high school coach, Carter Giles, who came up with the name.
Okay.
Like, let's just get all the local schools and we'll call it the backyard brawl. And it has been, I think, with very rare exception, South Williamsport, Loyal Soccer in Toursville for years and years and years. I played there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a cool thing, and they have it at Bowman Field. And now they need good weather because the big leagues at Bowman Field, like it's rained out. They're very finicky with the field now. It's raining, but the weather's supposed to be good, so it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And the track is this week?
PHAX.
PHAX this week.
Conference this week. Yep.
So yeah, we're getting there.
All right. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
We'll see you.
I'm Jeff Everett. He's Mark Messina. Have a great weekend.